You want to grab it before you forget?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll start when you come back. What number is this?
Bloody.
It's 7:30, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, before we get going, I'd like to acknowledge Chase and his time that he helped us. His knowledge was very valued here and will be missed, but glad that he's moving on to the Board of Selectmen. So with that, let's go ahead and start with approving the minutes. Does anybody have any omissions or corrections for the minutes? Anna?
Yeah. I do have corrections, but I talked to Amy about one of them. A couple times the word eater was used, so I thought it was something that I was missing, but it's actually supposed to be water. In 2 instances it says eater instead.
New word.
By the time I'm finished with the minutes, I'm sure they're fine.
And there was one thing about the farm pond. It said Ed Mitch said that he hadn't seen it so high and that the original pond did not encounter a spring. So I inserted the word excavation. During the original pond excavation, they did not encounter a spring. So that was the only significant change. Otherwise, it's just edits.
Anybody?
You got the change in your name, Miss Mayo?
Oh, where was that?
Oh,
I missed it.
actually,
I mean, I caught one that you missed.
no, it's there. You got it.
That's it, I'm leaving.
Your
All
job's
right, would
done.
anyone like to make a
My job's
motion
done.
to approve the minutes?
My work's done here.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of April 24th? April 24th,
Yeah.
2017.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I wasn't present for these, so I'll abstain from voting.
You can still vote as administrator,
Oh.
but
Okay, I mean, they looked great, so I'm gonna vote yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead, let's try and go through some of our administrative. Lisa Boyd is up here. Do you want to come up, Lisa? She wants to have a discussion on dog walking. So I can give you a few minutes, so if you'd like to tell us why you're here, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, let's see. I would love to know where in town, if any place, I can go to take my dogs off leash. And I would love to see a spot in town where people could freely take their dogs on off-leash hikes. I think it's incredible for the dogs to be able to just run, and actually, if they go in groups, they tend to learn a lot from each other. And I think it can be really, really, I've seen it firsthand. Now in Weston, they have the Weston Reservoir, and they just have the water part is fenced in, and then there's a trail. It's 2 miles and it goes all the way around, and they don't even have the outside of it fenced, and the dogs just keep to the trail, and everyone lets their dogs off leash. And it's surprising how little trouble there is between dogs when they're not harnessed up. When they're greeting each other, they just go up to each other, sniff each other, and go on their way.
And Lisa, you're a resident of Littleton?
I am,
Okay.
yeah.
Andrew, you know a lot of the properties here.
I
and
do.
We've had quite a few. It's a big discussion for sure in terms of dogs and on the conservation property. Do you want to address?
Absolutely. So currently, I wouldn't say that there's a property in town that you could have your dog off leash if it's not under voice control or at heel under the town leash bylaw. Yeah, so currently we don't have a property that you could do that.
Right.
I know you had looked into maybe creating a spot like that in the future.
I mean, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
To do something like that, right, we would need to amend the bylaw to state that it would be okay in a designated spot.
Yeah, because we have had some instances where, unleashed dogs on a conservation property have attacked people or other dogs, so, yeah, people have complained about that as well.
I used to take my dogs out, and even just a real friendly, run up to somebody can be incredibly intimidating for them. And I stopped doing that because I know I can get my dog under control in, very short moments notice, but I know that it's too much for a lot of people, and so I did stop doing that. But it's not.
Is there a particular property that you think is more suited for that? Is there one that you've been looking at?
I don't have an ideal spot. Somebody suggested even the new spot on Boxborough Road could be worked into something like that.
Okay.
Or maybe Cloverdale?
Oh, maybe. I mean,
Right, it's right next to
The high,
the road.
yeah, the
that's
highway.
the new property on
Yeah.
119 that we
Yeah,
cleared.
but the road is right there. It might not be safe.
It's also.
That's
There's
one of the crucial things. If there's a road right there, it's not really.
It's not just human
gonna be
contact,
safe.
it's wildlife contact too, with dogs.
Well, you'd have to choose a site that doesn't have specific types of wildlife use where the dogs would impact.
Right.
I mean, at Carlisle, they have the bogs area.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with that area?
I am. Yeah.
So they allow, I mean, there are definitely towns that have areas designated for dogs, and I agree with you that, it does work.
Yeah.
It's just finding
Finding the right spot.
the right spot is the key.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely open to listening
Okay.
if we can find the right spot.
I mean, even if it's some place where maybe the coyotes are like out of control, if they knew that there was another dog presence,
You'd have
it
to do
actually might be beneficial.
petitions.
They're actually having
Citizens.
a meeting tomorrow night in Concord on that very issue, because there was a coyote denning.
Yeah.
And they say, so they've kicked the dogs out because the coyote is denning and she's attacked a couple dogs.
Yeah.
So the coyote gets precedence.
Right.
We're not using
Sure.
the dogs to run off coyotes.
Sure. But if like the coyotes are just kind of ranging through an area,
I think we'd have to look at also whether that would entail a citizen's petition to come through. So I think you might want to do a little bit more history to research and see how that would be brought forth to the town. We'd have to see a tremendous amount of interest, I would think, for us to start to take action with that.
right.
So, yeah, so if you know of other dog owners who feel the same way, it'd be good to maybe write a letter with all of you signing it or something. like
Okay.
Yeah, could be something that we could look into.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
I know over in Maynard they have some kind of dog park set up next to this big solar panel field. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's not really a wooded area. It's kind of like an open.
Yeah, if it were a fenced-in area that was just a little 1 acre park that people could go down to, I wouldn't go there.
You wouldn't go there.
Mm-mm. Can't-
That's the only kind I've seen, are
Yeah.
not trails, but a fenced-in dog park.
Yeah, I would like to see a trail where you can take your dogs to just get them exercised so they can just go
Have you
home
even
and
been to the
relax
bog
and
over in Carlisle?
I have not, no.
train better.
I would think a bog would be a fairly sensitive area for
Well,
having
no,
dogs.
it's a
to
large
run in.
tract of land, though. It's a working farm and that.
I mean, there's a lot of places you can go, but as far as I know, you have to have your dog under voice control. But it's a liability
Yeah.
issue.
Okay. We've got to move on. We've got a full agenda, but we
Okay.
appreciate your input.
Yeah.
We're happy to listen
Okay.
and offer any feedback that we can.
Sure, thanks.
Okay,
Thanks very
great.
much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is commission vacancies. Anyone would like to talk to that?
Sure. So, as you guys know, we now have 2 vacancies on the commission, with Chase joining the Board of Selectmen. And we conveniently have 2 applicants for the board, Rachel Robinson and Rob McLaughlin. We've had a chance to meet both of them, and I think they'd make fine additions to the board. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we recommend the appointment of both individuals to the Board of Selectmen.
And-
Does anybody have any
Oh, yeah.
discussion?
Oh, no,
Them to
not
the
to serve on the
commission.
Board of Selectmen, but...
Commission and then
Sure.
approve
Does
that.
anyone, any discussion on Rachel or Rob before we second that?
I'm not sure if I remember Rob. Was he the old gentleman?
Yes.
The old gentleman who
and-
taught, he
Yeah, who
teaches.
taught.
At the
Yes.
at the preschool.
Right.
So, we did have 2 other people that have shown some interest. What happened to
I
those
think we
other
only
people?
have presently, and Amy can address that, I
We've
think
only
there's
got 2.
only
Yeah.
2, and there's only been 2 for,
There had been 3, but Gabrielle
3.
pulled herself out because she's got too
couldn't do
much
the
on her
time
plate
commitment.
to do it.
Which one was she?
I believe she was the first one that we saw.
That came in with the guy?
Yes. And she came up afterwards and sat at the table for a while. She's very enthusiastic, but
Yeah, yeah.
But she's.
she's got too much demands on her time and couldn't do what she wanted to do.
And Rob, I've worked with him out on the lands
Okay.
on various projects, so he's very
Oh, have you?
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel doesn't have much environmental experience. She's more archaeology and history, and she also had interest in other departments as well, not just CONSCOM.
I
In
believe
historical.
she's still expressed an interest to Amy, so
Okay.
if you do decide to put both forward, they still have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen. So there's still another process we could put
Have we
both.
had any other applicants? And no,
And it's been advertised,
Yep.
well, since Tom left. Well, not since, since
Yeah.
Tom left.
Yes, since Tom
Since the
left.
fall, so it's.
Okay.
And
So,
it's been in, the paper's been, Littleton Conservation Trust put it in their newsletter, so it's
Mm.
been out there.
so what would the commission like to do? You have a motion on the floor from Andrew to put forth 2 names.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think at this point, we don't have a lot of options. I hate to say it, but it's
Okay.
all.
Okay, well, they're very vested for sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay, great.
So I will let them know, let the Board of Selectmen know.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Oak Hill Harvard Road parking lot. Anyone want to discuss that?
Sure. So at the last town meeting, our article for $17,000 to construct a new parking lot for Oak Hill over on Harvard Road was approved, actually without any discussion. The townspeople were very much in favor of it. So come July, we'll have the funding and we can start work on it.
Great, thank you for that.
And
update.
I
Yeah.
am meeting with Chris Stoddard actually tomorrow to just make sure that he has what he needs to do the construction. And if there's paperwork or red tape or whatever.
Okay. Great. Cooper Farm update, I think, Amy, that might be you, because you were out on site today, or who?
Just to let you know, they've
They've
started,
started.
in case you haven't driven by.
Okay,
The erosion controls are 75% up. They still have a little bit more to do, but they're cutting in the access road now.
Okay.
Off of, and
Now, there was a huge discussion at the town meeting about over 55 developments, and I know that's a part of this Cooper development is an over 55. You remember that?
I do. Yeah, I remember it.
Huge. So they didn't change the regs, so
No.
now it's still over 55. It's not a elderly.
but I assume they would be grandfathered anyway, because they're already approved.
Right.
At Cooper.
So you said all the erosion control is not in yet? Shouldn't all the erosion control have been prior to
They
any
haven't
equipment
done
going
the
on
part
property?
back at Basin, it was either 3 or 4 because it was more of an access issue. Because they have to get to it first, so I said that was fine.
okay, so you're
Do you have a
following up with
timetable
them?
with them? ASAP
They
tomorrow?
are hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be out there every few days,
Okay,
just to see
I just
how things are going.
history, I just think we need to be diligent.
yeah, I think for all these sites, just to be, we've got to get the erosion controls in. Okay. 323 King Street, demolition and rebuild.
That's mostly just an FYI that this is across from the Congo church. It's the house that had the fire,
Oh.
which I never noticed, but apparently burnt inside, didn't burn outside. So I think the fields have it, and it's gonna be
The long skinny.
a demolition and rebuild.
Really? Have they pulled demolition permits for it?
I don't think so. I told them they're gonna need a notice of intent
Yeah.
for the rebuild, and if they're hot to try it on a demo, they might.
So they'll need a notice of intent for demolition probably if there's wetlands near it.
Oh, yeah, I would
There-
say
there's
so.
one, yeah. It's right on the Two Brothers Trail.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, that's a shame. It's a historical house, I think.
okay.
Oh, there's no interest in
Well,
becoming conservation
No, they're gonna rebuild it.
adjacent?
They're
Oh.
gonna rebuild it, yeah. Okay. Newtown Road well location change, that's 204-771.
Yeah, this is actually a terrible plan. I apologize for that, because I thought the whole thing printed, but it's more like a screenshot.
Okay,
But basically, here's Newtown Road, the driveway comes up to the house, and then the well was out here. They actually want to put the well closer to the house, which I figure is a fine field change, and mostly just in order to avoid a huge boulder and a large tree.
Yep.
So they don't have to move or cut those things, so
Yeah.
I think it sounds like a fine red line
Yeah.
change to me, so I was
Yeah.
gonna tell them. I'm gonna go out there tomorrow, double check it, and they're gonna go.
everybody feel good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're gonna go to the 7:35 public hearing, request for determination of applicability, Lake Matawanaki, proposed hydro raking of nuisance vegetation along the perimeter of Lake Matawanaki Beach, boat launch area, and plus or minus 47 homes along the lake shore. Chucky, do you wanna come up?
Yep.
Wanna just introduce yourself?
My name is Charles Bush. I'm the president of the Matawanaki Association, also on the Clean Lake Committee. I am here for a permit to take some weeds out of some yards. Not that many. We only got 16 hours right now, and that's not even 16 houses. That
Okay.
maybe a couple people have a couple hours here and there. So we really don't have much. It's not something that is really intrusive of the whole lake.
But I thought you came up in front of us before about this.
I did. You wanted me to come back.
Right.
It was to decide whether it was a determination or notice of intent.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So it sounds like you're scaled back a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we've scaled back over the years, everybody.
Yep.
It's $200 an hour to rake in front of yours. And there's only one person out there, Solutions,
Right.
that do it. So it's not like you can go out to bid or anything.
Okay.
So
I thought the timing, though, was an issue.
the timing is right because it's all starting to come up. If you go on the lake right now, actually, it's been a little cool, okay, this year. But normally, we're always at the first week of June or the end of May, right in that spot. And it lasts for the whole year.
But I thought I wanted you to check with a knowledgeable person.
I did, Bob Hartzell.
Okay, so what
Yeah,
did
there
it
is,
say?
there is some stuff in
There's
the.
all the stuff is in there for
Oh,
Bob
sorry.
Hartzell.
Yep.
And, what he suggests is, if we're not gonna do, chemicals, and that lake runs too fast to do chemicals, that this, along with the drawdown, is our best, attack for this lake.
But the timing, is it conflicting with, like frog, egg laying and things like that?
I don't think so. Like I said, 25 years, and there's still plenty of frogs and fish in there. And like I said, when you look at this lake and you go out there and you see how much they really do, it is just like a needle in a haystack.
Right.
That's how,
So it's really just in front of the houses,
Just
so
a
so
few
you
in the
can, so you
houses.
can use the
Yes.
water in the front of your house?
like in front of my house, I've been doing it for so many years.
Yeah.
All they're doing is taking leaves and putting it on my dock. They're not really going in there and wrecking all kind of wildlife. There's 3 ends of the lake where there is so much wildlife and so much material and everything.
And they're not touching those areas, so
No,
it's just,
no,
in front of
just-
the houses?
Just in front of the few houses.
Okay.
And the beach area and the boat launch, right?
Yes, beach area and the boat launch.
So it's not 47 homes.
No, not even. Like I said, so take 1, 2, 3, 3 of them out of there, so it's maybe 13 houses?
Okay.
Hmm.
Or less.
So we'll,
We should get that number clarified.
Well, I'm just, you never know who's
Yeah, you
gonna
never know,
sign
'cause
up,
they
but
have to-
listen,
yep, it's better to have it.
Westford will not let us do it, because we don't go to Westford to
Mhm.
solicit it,
Mm.
all right?
Okay.
If we did, they probably would let us,
Mhm.
but I'm not worried about Westford, I'm just worried about Matawanaki
Okay.
and the Littleton side.
Okay. So do we have a motion? What? No, I've got it.
What?
You gave it to me.
Yeah, I didn't print out the, something to sign.
Okay.
But yes, go ahead, sorry.
Does someone want to make a
Not, you have
motion?
nothing to do.
I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability for Lake Matawanaki, proposed hydro raking of nuisance vegetation along the beach area, boat launch, and 13 homes along the lake shore,
Plus or minus 13 homes.
plus or minus.
It's not outrageous,
Yeah.
it's not
We
that
have a
tough.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Well, thank
Since
you
Chuck
very
filled
much.
out the actual determination of applicability the first time, I actually do have a signature page.
Awesome.
I started telling you, I said, no, you issued the permit.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, Chuck.
Yep.
Now, what's this?
That's
Oh,
his
our application?
application, right, yeah,
There's stuff in it, okay.
yeah.
So it's 7:50, next on the docket is Chestnut Lane with an update with lot 12 and 13 and the common drive.
And it is exactly 7:50, so
Do you want to just put that on here? Okay, so we'll keep this open, but let's,
He did send some pictures, let me just grab those for you.
I was out on site and the erosion control's been put back in.
Oh, great.
The wall is still toppled over.
Oh, was that?
For what it's worth, we can talk about those later too.
Is that Chestnut?
That's Chestnut.
So Amy and I've been out on site, as you know from the last hearing, they were asked to reinforce the erosion control in a quick basis, and they did do that. Amy went out, I think it was a week ago Wednesday.
With Chase, yeah, they did it
Yep.
the next day
the
after
next
the
day.
hearing as they were supposed to, and then Chase and I went out Wednesday.
Yep.
And double checked it.
So, I believe that they're still waiting for an approval of a wall design.
Yeah, they have to get a structural engineer to redo the wall, and they said then you need to come back. The erosion controls, all the new ones were put up, which I have some pictures of, if
Yeah.
you really wanna see them. They did, because they had to do it quickly, and S&M did it, so they did a nice job, but they had to go outboard of the old erosion controls.
Mhm.
So Chase and I, and in the letter also made it clear to them, that doesn't mean you have a new limit of work.
So because now what's happened is the wall that fell down, you have the road that goes through, those sections of block are now on the left side of the road. So getting closer to the wetlands area. So at some point, those, once they have the new design, have to come back.
There's some more pictures in there if you wanna here, see. The lot 12 well, which had been spilling all the iron-laden water, has been
Like that one?
recapped.
is that the Iron Lady?
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's old stuff now, it's not
Yeah.
doing that anymore.
Okay.
The lot 13 well the area has dried up and is protected.
Okay.
So I believe it's my understanding that they're not supposed to be working on that until that is approved,
The wall,
the wall.
yes.
Pretty scary that the wall fell down.
Yeah.
Big blocks.
I mean, that's,
Like a few days after I noticed, like,
Like,
I don't wanna be a tattletale,
Except
but
wanna
that
live
just
in one
doesn't
of
look right.
I live in one of those houses.
Yeah, right.
So we have a few minutes before our next hearing. Is there anything, so
Budget?
continued, we've got that continued request for certificate of compliance distribution, so we're just,
I sent him an email recently and say, what the heck? And I haven't heard back from him. I'm actually not sure if Mark did, who's my contact, is still working there now, because there was some transfer going on.
okay.
Is one distribution center, is that where the hydrogen center?
It's
That's
just-
where it is, it's not that project.
Oh, okay.
It's across from Air Liquide where they just have to put one board in the weir, I think, still.
Oh, okay.
And there's also an issue at Air Liquide, that they changed the drainage a bit. So I was like, well, you gotta come back and prove that you're still meeting DEP and all that stuff.
Mm.
I haven't heard a thing
Okay.
from them.
So we'll continue, so we'll get continued to, so the next meetings that we have on the docket are May 22nd and June 5th. So is that still the case going forward for the
Yeah.
calendar?
Okay. What about the budget? Was that skipped over?
Where's that?
It's the last thing on the
Last bullet.
administrative discussion.
Oh, I was using the old one. All right, let's
Oh,
go back
yeah.
to that, sorry. I have an old. Okay.
So, yeah, I talked to Jim about that. The next FinCom meeting is June 6th, and depending on what time it is, he thinks he can probably go, because that would be when to ask for a reserve fund transfer to cover the rest of my salary for the rest of this fiscal year, as well as some expenses.
What about, we had a discussion at one of the previous hearings about additional hours for you, where it's been so busy?
That would come up in the next round.
Okay.
So
So do we have to?
So more like, so that would come for fall town meeting, so probably around August or so, we can pull that together. So this one in June is for this current fiscal year.
Okay.
We'll deal with next fiscal year at the end of the summer.
I see, so we wouldn't get further hours from you until after the fall? More hours?
It could also come from reserve fund transfer, but yes. So now that we're getting closer to July 1st, we'll have a much better idea of where my overrun may or may not be.
Okay. All right, so we have a few minutes, which is odd. We don't
I
usually
know.
have extra time.
Well, Brian Provost, who did the garden
Yeah.
thing, is having his Eagle Scout Court of Honor May 20th.
Oh,
Anybody
great.
cares?
Oh,
Where are they
Where am I?
holding it?
Where do they say it is?
middle school cafeteria, Saturday, May 20th.
Saturday, May 20th.
That's cool.
Yeah, they did a great job up there. I don't know if you guys have seen the fencing, but it came out really nice.
I'll have to go by and look at it.
Yeah, it really needed it. Even just clearing out the brush and
Yeah.
everything that was tangled up in there
Hmm.
it did a lot of work.
I'll have to see if I can make it.
It'd be nice if we had some representation.
How many, you want to keep that one?
Yeah,
How many Eagle Scouts are there? Like usually?
they get honored. I have no idea. It could be one, it could be.
Okay.
Well, we haven't had many come in front of us in a while.
No, we
For
haven't.
a while there was a
Mm-hmm.
rush, but
Well, yes, someone made the ballot boxes for
Yes.
town meeting.
yes.
That
That's
was
a good one.
project. Yeah.
Actually, it was one of my son's best friends.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was invited to help make the ballot boxes. It was exciting.
Amy, are there any other updates you want to give us in regards to site walks that you've done or other properties?
Okay, well, let's see. Bulkley Road, 20 Bulkley, which is the Doug Shaw project that's the house by itself. I'm actually going to look at the new erosion controls tomorrow, meeting him out there tomorrow.
That he installed himself?
He's getting someone to do it,
Okay.
so we'll see. The two lots across the street, there's actually three lots, but one was outside the buffer zone. They've got the wells in, and they were watching the wells carefully, because I gave them a hard time about one of them. They had the erosion controls up. I haven't actually walked the site in a couple of weeks, but Carol was doing that, and they seem to be taking care. So far, so good. Durkee, you've heard. Chestnut, Sawyer Lane
About Foster,
is coming in. Foster,
the one that's active.
they've been working. Every time I drove by, it had been sort of raining, so they haven't been working.
Okay.
So they've got a big open area, but they also have a lot of grass left in front of the erosion controls. And the 305 Foster across the street, they're doing a redesign, so
So they're still redesigning?
they're still redesigning. Talking to Board of Health, redesigning, deciding how much it all costs, so they're figuring all that out.
Did you go up to the point at all?
I have not actually been to the point in a while. Kimball Farms, have to redo a water line for the septic, which is, for the treatment plant, which is in Westford. So Bruce Ringwald's gotta come back and talk about that, resetting some erosion controls, so they can do the
Is that
trenching.
over the bridge from where?
Yeah.
So we have to look at the bridge at some point too,
Yeah.
so.
And he started describing to me, I said, just take me out in the field, because I have no idea what you're talking about. The church, I haven't heard anything recently. I expect it'll be a while before they get started on those basins down there.
When are those slated to go in?
They weren't really, sometime this summer.
Okay.
I think when they get their funding. Bennett Orchard is looking good. We're gonna hydroseed the basins this week. And there's a couple small areas of erosion, but they're keeping track of those. What else is going on? 11 Lincoln, the guy who wanted to put in the shed and the new slope, he said he's done, so I gotta go check that, so he'll be in for a certificate.
How about King Street? Did you mention anything about that?
I have not been up to 417.
Okay,
I'm sure it's been too wet for them to do anything with that stream,
yeah.
with that
That's
ditch,
boring.
swale,
Boring.
whatever you wanna call it.
Or wet, yeah, for sure. Andrew, any updates with, trails or any lands or trust or?
Not really. I mean, all the lands are in good order, which is always a good thing. I'm hoping that we can start doing a bit more work on the Church Meadows property. I'm looking at maybe clearing the entire front, just so the townspeople can drive by and actually see it.
Right.
Because everybody I talk to about it, they say, well, "Where's that? Where's Church Meadows?" And you have to say, "Oh, between the daycare center and
Yep.
So hopefully we can get started on that.
I've noticed that the poison ivy is starting to pop out,
Yes, it is.
What is
so,
the piece of property next to Church Meadows? There's been piles of something being placed in there. Is that privately owned?
Next to Church Meadows?
Yeah.
On the Cooper Farm side,
Yeah.
or? I don't know. Is
you mean
that-
where the equipment is for?
No.
Tr-
No, just on the other side of,
on the
You
same
know.
side?
yeah,
Oh,
there's a empty piece of land. I believe it's on that side.
it could be a part of the Cooper development.
They could be moving that, remember
I
how they
didn't
were
think
gonna,
it
they
went
were gonna
over there.
pull all the metal out, so they could be
Oh, maybe.
pulling
I
it.
didn't think
They
it went
haven't
over. Does
started
it, does it go
Oh.
over to the
They
dike?
started.
Does it go over that far?
No, there's a piece of land in between,
So I think that's what he's
isn't there?
referring
Yeah.
to.
I think that's the piece I'm talking about.
Well,
It's
no,
between-
because that's Church Meadows, 'cause
Yeah,
that's where
'cause
they were
it's
putting the
Church
bike trail.
Meadows,
It would go into
yeah.
Church Meadows if it didn't go down Cooper.
Did anyone go on
Okay.
that
Wow.
sidewalk the day that they were going to try and
Chase
walk through?
did.
Chase did.
It was
Chase did.
super wet that day. How did that go?
I thought it went well. Did Chase
That was going
mention
through
to
the
you?
Cooper property, correct?
He did mention something about it 2 weeks ago, just before or after discussion, but
He said something, oh, like it would be great if they could put it on the conservation side,
yeah,
the path.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they got a lot of wetlands at the other end.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They can figure isn't there a stream crossing there?
Is Sawyer Lane coming in tonight?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And then 305 Foster, is that being continued?
They're redesigning,
Okay, so that'll be continued.
yeah. So I'm just leaving it on the agenda to
Okay.
keep it going.
Do you want to go see if they're here? They can come in, we can start discussion?
Yep.
I think they're out there.
Yeah, they are.
So he's recusing himself.
Why?
I think I have a little, here's, nice and even.
Move that mic towards
Oh,
that-
this
the
one?
one that was Carl's.
Oh, sure.
No, spin it.
Oh, spin it that way.
Perfect.
They're not quite assembled yet.
2 minutes.
How about, I mean, we haven't had really a training or having the circuit rider come in and speak to us about anything for a long time. Is there anything that people would feel like they'd want a little brushing up on the regs or?
Because it also might be good with if we get two new commissioners.
Yeah, if we get to, that's true, we could do
Yeah.
Yeah.
basic training.
When
Do
are
we
they-
have a
when
book
are
that we
they-
can give them to?
We have to get 2 new books. Yeah, we'd have to go ahead and order those.
The handbooks,
Yeah.
that's, you no longer get it in paper. You get the subscription,
Oh.
which I don't think any of you have, right?
I think I got one when I completed the
I-
certificate.
Oh, how
I
nice.
did, yeah.
A door
it's-
prize.
It's only good for a year, though, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take it, of course, but.
I also have one, too.
The big binder.
Yeah, the big binder.
Yeah, I have mine.
Do we have an update on?
But they've been updated since
Cloverdale?
then.
Yeah.
Like what's been going on? I know they've been out there.
There really hasn't been much going on. I don't know when they plan on seeding it. I'll have to ask Rick.
What
Oh,
is the-
Cloverdale, it's been seeded.
Oh, it has been seeded.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is
great.
the ultimate goal? Pardon my ignorance.
Basically, a meadow.
Be a meadow. yeah.
That they can mow. They do want to try to put a trail across the wetland, make a big loop, because that property does go across that huge wetland. And they had applied for a boardwalk grant. I'm not sure if they got it or not.
I haven't heard anything on that, so.
Yeah.
I think we're at least in the running for it, so. But it'll be a great, great area when it's done.
For what?
For everybody, the creatures, the
Yeah.
people.
But the school, what is it that's across the way there? They walk across there and have nature classes.
Mhm.
Oh, good.
So,
Oak Meadow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Montessori?
Get it, man?
My son was there. He said, "Oh, I walked Cloverdale today." I said,
People
I
have
think
just
it's
asked.
worthwhile.
People have just asked me questions about going from a forested area to
Yeah.
an open
Yeah.
cleared meadow, and why did we
Which it had been.
why did we give up all
Yeah,
that
well-
habitat of the forested? canopy as opposed to an open meadow? It's a fair question.
Are they gonna,
Honestly,
we're
I don't-
gonna
gonna make-
limit the
Honestly, I don't
mowings
have a
in
good, I
different
don't have a good
seasons?
answer for
I
them.
would
Yeah.
say so.
Well, we're losing meadow.
So as long as we
Over
have
time.
tall grass growth
Hmm.
in order to get some of the other birds in,
Yeah.
but,
It's not,
that's
yeah.
gonna have to be.
It's barely big enough for,
It's not big
Oh,
enough for a
nesting.
true ground nesting bird, but, yeah,
Right,
it's not big
otherwise it's
enough.
good habitat.
okay. We are ready, come on up.
We're actually ahead of schedule, so.
Oh, ahead of schedule.
Mhm.
It's been so quiet in here.
You had to just chat about all sorts of things.
So before we get started, I'm going to recuse myself. Attorney Gould is representing a family member, so I'm going to step outside.
So that may impact our quorum for this evening, so we just want to be clear with that, but we're gonna go ahead and start with discussion. Okay. So, how about we start with,
Could I just make a comment about
Sure.
Mr. Samarco? Under the conflict of interest rules, I don't believe you have to recuse yourself unless you have a financial interest in the outcome of the matter.
Okay.
And I don't have any objection, if you wanted to make a statement to the selectmen that you told us about the conflict, then we didn't object to it, I would sign that, but I have no objection. I believe you can be impartial.
it's up to you.
Okay.
So for tonight, I should sit it out? and-
No, I don't believe you have any conflict.
I think you have to you both have to disclose what the conflict is.
Okay, so maybe I'll do that and then for the next turn.
I personally, I don't even think he needs to disclose it because there's no appearance of conflict. My relationship with the family member has absolutely no financial interest in this particular project, or he has no financial interest in the outcome of this particular project.
Wait, so his family member is not a part of this
It's a
project?
No, no,
You're
no.
just,
It's
she's
the
just
same
representing,
Attorney, yeah.
I don't think
yeah, I
that's a
don't think that
problem.
was the problem, that would be a
Oh,
problem.
well,
I was assuming it was a family member
Oh,
for
no,
this
no,
particular
no.
project,
no,
which would be
Okay, so
which would be a,
I guess
yeah.
I'll.
Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Nice try.
Almost me.
Almost made it, yeah.
Okay, so we're here to review Turkey Farm enforcement orders on the road, lot 9, 14, 7, 11, 13, and 31. So I think it's probably best, because it's been 2 weeks have gone by, if you'd like to do an overview of the site for the commission. And if you can just introduce yourself and just do from 2 weeks ago to now, is a good place to start.
All right, good evening. Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates, along with Dave Cowell with Hancock Associates, Dave Guthrie, owner, applicant, Mike Giannetti, site work contractor, Sherry Gould, legal representation. So, 2 weeks ago, we were here discussing the enforcement order and issues that were ongoing. Last time, we kind of went basin by basin, problem area by problem area, to understand what was going on. Generally speaking, the site has been swept regularly. Catch basins have been cleaned out, silt sacks repaired, removed. Additional Cape Cod curb has been installed for almost the entire balance of Fraser Street. Straw wattles are being maintained at front yards, generally speaking. We had a site walk this morning that identified some areas that had additional deficiencies from the rain that we had last week. At the end of the last meeting, we were tasked with a couple of different punch list items. In the area of infiltration basin 1 at the crossing, it was requested that we install additional wattle across the channel. That
replacement one.
replacement wattle, yep, and that was done. To stay in this area, lot 8 has been loamed and seeded as of today. Jute matting was installed on the slope adjacent to the crossing.
Good.
And then working down Balsam, I believe additional wattle was installed as well.
Yes.
Can I touch on the stream crossing? We tried to get the old ones out, and they were a mess. They were disintegrating, so I spoke with Amy. We decided that it was best to when that stream is dry, we'll go in and remove them by hand, but we left those old ones in place.
Oh, okay.
Just if you go out there and see that, that's what happened there. Sorry, Brian.
And then shifting to infiltration basin 2 up by Grimes. Water was kind of bypassing the outlet structure and going underneath the pipe structure through the stone that bedded it. Mike put in additional fill and compacted it, and it appears that that issue has been remedied.
Wait, where did he put the film, I'm sorry?
Around the outlet control structure on basin 2.
So I worked, if I may,
Oh.
I worked on that with Mike. What we did was the bond, if you will, adjacent to, from the base of the basin and the outlet structure, wasn't tight. Whether just the nature of the soil up against it, didn't allow for tight compaction.
Okay.
And really, the depth of the soil to the bottom of the structure is probably about 6 inches. And then it sat on a standard thin layer of stone for leveling. We took out a bucket full, probably a yard from the machine, and replaced it with a road base, gravel road base, hand compacted it with a tamper so we could get close against that. And it was probably a foot that we installed by, 3 by 3. We did it in 4-inch layers, hand compacted it, and then put a 4-inch layer of loam with a slight slope up against the structure, so that any water that filled up in there would want to push away. And then we hand seeded, and then tamped that loam and seed back in, and then jute netted it, and then watched it, and it survived many storms, holding water. And then we also tracked it when it was holding water to make sure it was functioning and draining. It was. I will say that up in this area, we raked quite a bit of leaves out of here. And then we have some standing water back in here and 2 low spots that I think have a leaf cover to the base. So when that dries out, we'll remove those. There's a couple of big trees in this area that I think that are going to require annual fall maintenance of those leaves that fall before they get wet. But we did note that it was holding water again, not leaching under the structure, and then it also was draining in a timely fashion. So we believe the pond is functioning as designed.
Another key point from this morning's conversation during the sidewalk is that we will be going into the outlet structures and cleaning them out. There was a bit of leaf litter and probably some sediment in there as well. We'll get in there.
Because it's
and
never
get
been
that.
cleaned since it was installed. So on site, that was witnessed today.
Yeah, so the catch basins were, the outlet structures still need to be cleaned.
Those I think we can do by hand. We did the catch basins and manholes, with a vac truck to remove any silt that may have settled on the bottom of those. Those are primarily leaves because they're above the discharge line, but I believe we can clean those up by hand.
And there's no sump in there, so catch basins at 4-foot sumps that are associated, these structures do not. Moving to infiltration basin 3, it was requested that we develop a dewatering plan, which we issued. Specific guidance along with an actual plan outlining exactly what's going to happen, and we had walked that this morning as well. The area is located just across Grimes Land. There's a shallow depression, and we had put some stakes that marked where the erosion control lines would go. And the narrative, very detailed, explains in detail exactly the rate and volume at which water can be discharged to that area. So we went out there, we dug a couple of holes outside of the location of dewatering to determine what the soils were, whether there was groundwater present, and it was loamy sand overlain by sandy loam and no groundwater to a depth of 2.5 feet or so. So we based our calculations on a conservative estimate. It was also discussed this morning that while the plan itself outlines using the 1,000-gallon truck that's on site for dewatering, it may be such that we need to actually pump it across Grimes in lieu of using the truck. Just operationally trying to fill it, get it over there, empty it out, and bring it back. We don't think that we can get the application in the amount of time that we had specified, whereas if we were to just pump it, we will be able to achieve that and dewater this quicker. So with the commission's blessing of it, we'd like to commence dewatering as soon as erosion control is installed. And I believe Mike was working on that
Yeah,
today. making
Danny
some phone
Pickett's
calls.
gonna do it tomorrow, I'm not sure exact what time, but he said he'd try to be there first thing in the morning, but he usually comes around 9.
Yep, so Amy and I went out to the site today, it's fully vegetated. We walked off closer to going off the site, so you could see that if it does become saturated, where it's going to flow. So, but it's all fully vegetated, it is a fairly large area. I think one discussion that we had today was whether it is gonna be the truck or the pumping using the hose. So, both have strengths and weaknesses, but Amy was very diligent to ensure that it has to be monitored, that you can't just flip a switch. We talked a little bit about how in Basin 3, how it's gonna be able to float as it's sucking up the water so that it's not taking along a lot of silt and debris and things with it as well. So, you gonna flip a coin, which one you're gonna use, or
We're
which
going
do you
to
think?
attempt to use the pump first.
Okay.
So we secured all that, the hoses were picked up this afternoon, and the pump. So we're gonna proceed with a 3-inch pump. It's a.
Do you want to explain to the commission what we talked about today in terms of what it would look like to dewater that?
Yeah, so, are you talking about the float mechanism?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna try a couple things probably to see which one works best, but, we could try a bucket with some stone in it. I don't know if we could start out like that, but then we were talking about putting some rigid, insulation, with a couple 2x4s across it, so the head of the suction, pipe itself would be floating, not, in the water, not.
Not where the silt
in the
is.
silt.
Because it's not like a big bowl that's
Yeah,
deep.
yeah.
It's not like the farm
Right.
pond. This is shallow
Shallow.
and spread, so.
Mhm.
So we're gonna try the bucket first, because there's probably like a 1.5 foot of water in there, and see if we can't get most of it out of there, and then see what happens. So we can actually get inside there and without waders and all that stuff.
So the bucket will have crushed stone or something inside it?
That's correct.
So the
There will be-
water will come and holes punch in, so the water will,
We'll have
Come
holes
through.
that cut in it, slices of holes, and we'll put stone inside there with the suction hose itself.
kind of buried
ins-
inside it?
it.
Is there any point, or will it just make it less effective to wrap it with a fabric before you place the stone? I'm just not sure how much, if it's all just gonna come in through the stone.
That's typically how we set one up, and I can
So
put
it's-
some fabric around there. I mean, in all my years of experience, when you set up a sump pump like that, it pretty much typically pumps out clean water.
It works out, yeah.
Okay. So the timing, it's the applicant's interest to really get going on this, and I think that, we're 2 weeks into this, that I'd like to hear from the commission that they have the blessing to go forward. Once the erosion control is installed in the morning, Amy can go out, look at that, in the hopes that we can start this. The weather's amenable, so what do the commissioners think? Because we'd like to have a discussion on that.
What are you gonna do when it gets really low and if it's silty? And how are you gonna get the rest
So
of it
once
out?
once we're dewatered, what are we gonna do? So
Once
the
we're
next step.
dewatered, we're gonna do exploratory excavation to figure out what's going on. So we're gonna dewater to a point where we can actually dig holes,
Which there
understand.
might be like an inch left
Yeah, I
there,
mean,
and then
it's
you're gonna
not-
start
It's not
digging?
gonna, it's not gonna affect what we need to see in the bottom of it. So when the water's at a level that's low enough, we'll go in, we'll dig holes, and we'll report findings and recommendations to the commission on how to proceed with reconstruction, remediation, however you want to describe it, of the bottom of the system, to make sure that after we repair it, it will actually dewater in the manner that it was designed to. Key point on that is timing for that piece of reconstruction. That may not be something that if we can dewater this by Friday, we're out there Monday digging holes would be okay to understand what's happening, come up with a plan, but that plan may not be implemented for some time until we know that there's not gonna be some of these larger storms where it's just gonna become inundated again, dewater again, or we have a situation where we're only partially constructed or something of that nature. But the first step is to go out there and do some exploratory excavation and figure out what's going on.
And that's outlined in the information that was submitted to them. So to have two tracks, so to have the best case scenario, so if you go out there exploratory and it is something that can be fixed, I think the commission would like to have you go forward with that. As a reminder, if you're excavating anything out, it has to leave and not be stored in a buffer zone. So if part of,
We're doing the truck.
exactly, so in and out. But I think it's the commission's, what we've discussed all along, is that we really want to remedy this basin 3 in order to go forward.
And would you want, or would you expect anyway for Green affiliates to take a look at the results of the test pitting and the
Yeah,
proposed
absolutely. So
solution?
when you know that you're gonna be, like, to keep an open dialogue between Amy and Green, so when you know that you're getting to the point where it's drawn down, we just don't know how quickly it's gonna come down. And as soon as, you know, if you can either have Amy out or Green out to kind of witness the exploration, that would be advised.
Okay.
So I think one thing, just so that we're all clear, and it's nice that the contractors are here as well, that we have to really be very truthful that when you're dewatering down here, you have to be diligent and really keep after that. And so we expressed that to you, but you weren't there today. So that when they're dewatering, if it means turning it off, if the site can't take it, then we need to cease that, so we can't impact down to the wetlands. Okay. So that's
You thought down to the wetlands where it's,
down
where it's,
over
where it's,
past where
where it's
there's
discharging.
potential, yeah. If all of a sudden there's too much water that's coming and it's not infiltrating,
How far away is the discharge from the
it's
wetlands?
a good distance.
200 and something feet
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good distance.
I mean, it will get there.
eventually, but they have
It's gonna
those,
be-
It
Yeah,
depends
we've got a
on
couple
those
different check
barriers.
dams and,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did they
It's all-
curve
it's all
them? the
grass
way-
field.
They don't need
Yeah.
to.
Oh,
Right, you saw, look at it on site, it's
Yeah.
fine.
The grass
We're
field.
gonna watch the volume, obviously, so we're not here talking about some other problem that we've caused, so we'll keep an eye on that. You know, maybe run it for a couple hours, see what it does, stop it, wait.
you'll know.
Yeah, we don't.
Next.
Alright,
Four.
as we shift up, we can get towards 4. Lot 9, it was requested that we revise the plan that shows the retaining wall on it, and we had submitted that plan. In the interim, since last meeting, I believe, the back of 9 and 10 were regraded, and they're not
The
seeded.
excess loom has been removed, the piles, there's no more piles up against, close to the sill fence in the wattles. We also graded away from the pond or retention basin, so it's kind of like, the grade coming off of 9 where the driveway is, it comes down, and from the basin, it heads back towards 9, so it's a small little swale in there, and we've loomed that and installed I call them hay rolls, so, and it's been hydroseeded.
now, we noted that you flipped the side of the
Yeah,
driveway,
We'll get to that one
Oh,
in a
we'll
bit,
get
'cause
to
that'll
it?
be.
but that's the
delivering
lot they're talking about right now, right?
Yeah, they took there were large stockpiles of loam, and so when Amy and I were out on site, we advised them prior to the rains that were coming after last week to remove those large, and it graded out nicely,
Okay,
but he got rid of those there. Before
All
we jump ahead, I do want to actually get support for 3, because it is a significant change to the site that we're allowing them to dewater and do exploration. So I just want to make sure as record that the commission's supportive of that.
Yes.
It's fine.
Okay, cool.
So shifting up to 4, I don't believe that there were any issues in that general area. Stands pat as it was previously, where it's still functioning as designed. Shifting up into, I guess it's kind of this whole section. It was discussed this morning regarding runoff traveling behind the curb line in addition to the gutter line of the roadway itself. And Mike has installed check dams on lots 14, 13, 12, the driveway of 12, down to the low point in the catch basin in front of 11. Did any regrading happen on 11?
No regrading has happened on lot 11.
Okay, but it was discussed to regrade a little bit of the shoulder of 11, so that should, water be ponding in the road, we're not increasing the amount of sediment that catch basin sees.
So photos were taken over the weekend, so you could see the tracking of the water, so they're in the Dropbox, and we gave them to the owners today.
So that item is still on our punch list. Going into the open space by the farmer's pond, we had issued, very recently, this exhibit plan. We issued it by PDF if you guys want hard copies to look at. Maybe just passing.
Thanks.
There's a few of them right there.
Is it all the same one?
It's all the
Oh,
same
okay.
one, so.
Thank you.
So I think this is a bit of a challenge to see wethout being color-coded, so we do have a smaller scale color-coded, so you can see the existing farm pond, the wetlands flag, and then what is existing now for water.
Exactly, so what's colored in yellow is the delineated wetlands, and what's green is what was field located for surface water.
And what day was that done?
That was done on the 3rd of this month, so last week.
So to note that capacity is probably greater, there's probably greater volume. You were taking the stake measurements?
I have been. So it's been 5 days that we've been taking it. And for the first 2 days, it hadn't changed. Then it went down a half an inch. And then after the rainstorm, it is up an inch and a half. So it went back to its where it was, and then took a little bit more. So we're going to keep monitoring that in the upcoming days.
So just to back a little bit of history, so originally we thought that water was coming in various ways. They put the berm in, added additional erosion control, but so some water was still kind of sneaking in a little bit over by where the Portaloo is, but that was discussed today on site to tighten that up a little bit more and to actually change some of the grading to keep additional water from going in as well.
And that was on lot 7.
So we didn't do that today because it was still a little bit too soggy in that area. So we were giving it one more day to dry out, but we plan on doing that tomorrow.
So do you want to talk about what you're seeking, what we talked about in the field in terms of, there were a couple things that preempted having this graded away, and one was going ahead and certifying kind of what is out there for volume. So in order to start to clean up 7, you guys had asked to try and pull some of that back because it's not graded properly by any means. But we had asked for erosion control to be beefed up and also this plan to be done. But you want to talk about what was discussed on site?
So the fill that's on site right now is kind of piled up on that side where the water is actually grown. So we're planning on going in there and cutting in a shelf on the left side of lot 7. So that way there will allow us to install some erosion control, so no further material washes down or silt gets into the standing water that's there right now. So once we can pull that away and get the erosion control in there, we would like to go ahead and put some loom down and then seed it as we did with lot 8, the side of lot 8.
To stabilize it.
With the hay rolls there, to see if we can get some growth, because this is a good growing season right now at this particular time. So that's our plan, and that's, we could do that pretty quickly, within a day, 2 days.
How much loam are you planning on putting down?
Just enough to get growth, so we,
Just to get
yeah.
some.
So the first stage, there would be a first stage, and then if the water recedes, or when the water recedes, or whatever remedy comes about that, we'd have to go back into that area and, remove the silt fence that's there and regrade that just a little bit more.
So
it'd
you're
be
looming
almost like
down to the edge of the water?
No,
No.
so
Okay.
there's.
Where?
there's
It's
a-
gonna be
there's a-
above it,
there's a
probably like
shelf,
by a
so
foot, a foot, at least a foot, maybe 2 feet, or a
Okay.
foot and a half.
So it goes, so from the water, there would be a step up, and then there would be a shelf where you'd have erosion control. So you're still gonna have one section that's not gonna be loomed. So
Okay.
that way, if something happens, if the water continues to rise or flow, but then up from that to try and pull it away.
But it would roughly be 15 feet. I don't mean to cut you off, but it would roughly be 15 feet away from the house, 15 to 20, somewhere in that area. That would be all loomed and then with, seeded with hydro seed, and also have the rolls of hay there, the hay rolls.
But they'd
You
be,
mean the netting?
Yeah, the netting that we put down, the jute.
they'd be pulling it back, because right now it's just running straight down.
So
we're
the
trying to
goal
pull-
of that is to protect the driveway to that house, right?
No,
It's a goal there is to protect the water that's
Yeah.
there.
Well, a combination of things, because we don't know how high this water will actually go. 'cause
We don't,
That
so-
was not, it was a storm, but it wasn't
right.
a,
So what we're
it
trying to
wasn't a big
do,
storm.
this past weekend was pretty big. So what's happening with every rainstorm, because it is unstable, we still get more flowing down. So because right now, we don't have an erosion control in front of the,
Yeah,
or the house. So,
Or proper grading.
Yeah.
exactly, so it's the grading that I think is of most interest now, to try and peel some of the loam that's been there to pull it back. We also talked about accessing the back of the house to try and pull that side back as well,
Correct.
but it might be too wet.
It was a little,
Just put a shelf
a
in.
little bit too much today, but I think tomorrow we should be in decent shape where the rain's gone for a couple days here.
Unless it snows tonight.
Amy's been on site quite a few times, but I think this is just a temporary measure until we know what's going on with 7. They recognize that they're doing it at their own risk, that it's probably going to be changed, just like they have done that on some of the other lots as well, that it's not final grade. It's just to help stabilize that area. But they took them a little bit longer, but in good faith did the plan and have been trying to tighten up the erosion control.
Okay.
Amy, is that what you recall from the conversation?
Yep.
And is the erosion control gonna go, basically from the curb over to the lot line?
It will.
And then
It will
stop?
run straight out to the back.
Yeah, right out to the grass.
It's just gonna almost be like a
Right out to
straight
the meadow.
line.
To try
Right
and
out to the
keep,
grass that's already established out behind it, we never disturbed yet.
yeah, okay. But they've
So
got to,
also
they've got to
lot-
pull,
Lot 30 in that direction.
Somewhere in that
Yeah.
area, yes. I think that's the lot.
Yeah.
so that's up to the commission if you would like to, because that's a stepping stone for them. If you're in support of letting them go ahead and do work in an area that is currently under an enforcement order. So you have to allow them to
is
do
there
that
gonna
work.
be further investigation as to where all this water is coming from? Are we assuming it's just the rain, or are we assuming that it's coming from other places?
Yeah, I thought there was, at the last meeting, we said there was gonna be some sort of investigation about
Yeah, so
whether.
the first step was getting the plan out there and then recording exactly where the geometry, the horizontal locations of the extent of the water is. Now we're gonna delve further into the costs of what we believe, how the water rose to the level that it's at, supporting calculations and what have you. And we expect to be issuing more to the commission on that.
Who's gonna do that work, any idea?
That would be us.
You'll do your own investigation as to the
We're gonna,
water's rising?
yeah, we're gonna be determining, what is the likely cause of the extent of the water that's there presently.
That data will have to be supported through consultant as well, okay. But I think in the meantime, this is a good step. We still have to tighten up for sure.
I agree with the tightening up.
Yeah, I would agree too.
Um, Okay, so
We're just not
everyone's,
signing, it's just a
Right, no.
temporary measure.
exactly, yep,
Let's make sure we have that in the record.
yeah,
Mm.
okay.
So while we're staying on, kind of these temporary measures, there is a piece of, construction that recently came before us regarding utilities, and the last remaining utility is the gas line. We have sidewalks that haven't been able to be brought to subgrade and paved, those areas to be loamed and seeded all along, Balsam Lane, Fraser Street. And we just got the indication, I believe last week, that it's impending. So essentially, we would like to be able to install the gas line as soon as it can be scheduled, essentially. I don't think there's an exact time frame on that.
No, they came out Saturday and said they're coming, which is, you know, we applied a year ago and paid them in July, and that's how they function. They show up.
Do you want to just review for the commission where the gas line,
Yeah, so the gas main's in Foster Street, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, or maybe you wanna just ID exactly where it is. It's my understanding it's gonna be tapping into Foster Street, coming down Balsam on the sidewalk side,
Correct.
crossing Fraser Street, and then coming up Fraser Street
Correct.
on the sidewalk side, and I believe we're only extending it to the intersection for right now. Yeah, so basically, this side of Fraser and this side of Balsam,
It's pretty much on the left side.
with
in-
whatever
in the
service,
sidewalk.
with
You said it
whatever
was
service
crossing
line.
Fraser, though.
There's houses here, so we have to
The
cross.
services will cross in front of every house, actually.
I'm sorry, stops at the intersection with Spruce, is that
Yeah,
where you're going down?
Spruce.
It's gonna follow the sidewalk through the subdivision.
Yep.
Most likely under it.
so it'll come up the side and then it crosses in?
To individual lots.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh,
A question that was, a comment that was made at one of the hearings from you all in regards to the catch basins that are here at that intersection, that we believe that there may be an issue. Obviously, something's going on now. My only question is, if we're putting the gas in, is that gonna impact if you have to redesign or relocate or add something in there?
No, because the gas line is off the road, under the sidewalk, and the catch basin would be on the far side if we
Okay.
had one, in that gutter line.
Yep.
It would be over here.
Yeah,
Over here or over here?
no, the other side.
Over here.
The catch basin would be on the other
Okay.
side. What's happening?
But the pipe is, no, I meant the pipe. The pipe's gonna be on that
The
side.
gas main will be on this
Yeah.
side, correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
what we have here is a catch basin on this side. This is a handicap ramp on the sidewalks. There's a catch basin here, which is a nice design. However, the design flow here is to hold a gutter line over this catch basin. It's not happening. It's sheeting over here into this one, creating what I believe will be a potential ice problem in the winter. So we want to add one right in there on the other side of that handicap dismount, which will pick up the water from this gutter line here.
And where would that outfall?
That'll
Into the
stay into
manhole.
the system. tie
Yeah,
into
so
the
it'll
system,
tie
yeah.
into that same manhole. And
to 3.
to
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
correct.
Which is where it's going now, but just via this catch basin. But we'd like to get it before it's sheeting across the street.
I see. Okay.
And you're working on that design at some point?
Yeah, we're gonna bring that to DPW.
Okay.
So you won't have to regrade the road at all,
No.
just put a catch basin in?
Just have a structure, pick the water up early.
Okay.
We could, there are thoughts, I believe, from design engineer that we could pick it up when we install the finish in a crown and manage the gutter line down here. 1% roadways are excellent on paper, but they're not excellent in the field. So I would like to move forward with the structure being the guy on the hook for the entire roadway. Just do it now while it's a binder. It's a little more money, but it's a guaranteed solution to the
Set,
problem.
start to come up with a design for that and actual location as well.
Mhm.
So just stepping back a second, so the request that's being made is to be allowed, while they are under an enforcement order for the road and various lots, to have permission to install the gas line. So it's discussion for the commission, if that's something that you will let them go forward, recognizing that they're under an enforcement order.
And are you asking for the sidewalks, like the whole 9 yards, once the gas is in? I just want to know,
We believe
Where
it's
you
the
wanna
best way to
stop.
stabilize that.
Yeah.
Correct. Lay the
I just want to know how
sidewalk
far you
and,
want to go.
lay the sidewalk, loam it and seed it. Jute net it where we see troubled areas.
Yeah.
We believe that's the ultimate solution to stabilization.
And is the sidewalk sloped toward the road so that all the,
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
So, but they do recognize that by doing that, if there is a change later, that they're doing the work at their discretion or their
Risk.
Risk.
Yeah, not discretion, risk, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't have a problem with it.
It's fine.
So the notes will acknowledge that the commission is allowing them to put the gas main in up until lot 15 and to do the sidewalk up to 15 as well.
Is that on the intersection with Spruce?
That is the intersection, I
Yeah.
suppose, yes.
Lot 15 is up here.
Do you want to say intersection with Spruce rather than the beginning of 15?
Yeah, that's where the sidewalk would
It
end,
would be
right?
the-
So it
Go
ends
over.
right,
Would be the
it
intersection
ends
with
right
Spruce.
there.
Yeah.
And did I hear you that the additional catch basin structure is,
That has to be designed and presented.
okay.
Okay, next.
I believe finally our last point is regarding Spruce Street in and of itself. We've corrected kind of the issue that was going on with Infiltration Basin 2. Infiltration Basin 2 will ultimately take the majority of Spruce Street and phase
What percentage?
2 through phase 1.
So you just said it would take the majority, so define majority.
Majority is to,
70%.
from the intersection of Spruce and Fraser Street
Okay,
down
so
to Grimes
Out
Lane.
of there.
Because right now, we have water that's coming all the way down here into this.
Mhm. And it is-
No, well,
Street drain, so your surface water is presently coming all the way down to like here right now. So from,
don't we pick it up in here and bring it down here, Brian?
Yep.
Yeah. So I
To
think,
4?
There's
Yeah.
2 catch basins
To-
over there.
yeah, the catch basin's in this
but
area.
it's not hitting the catch basins, is what we're saying. So if you look at
Be-
the last storm, that water came down the
what you're saying.
road and behind the berm that's there. So the way that that road is graded, it's not, the catch basins are not working at that grade.
Is it flowing into the farm pond instead?
So you can see through the pictures from the weekend where it was all going.
But that's before the curbing? Isn't there a
Curbing's
gonna be
already in.
curbing?
Curbing's in.
And it's still flowing into this farm?
Yeah.
I
But
think
Spruce
we-
Street from Fraser, that's all going into Basin 2
Correct.
on the Spruce Street.
On the Spruce
But
Street
you-
side.
But you're cutting into an area that's in the pond that you haven't done discovery yet.
We're not cutting into that, would be an area of fill. So
An area of disturbance.
an area of disturbance, correct. That is outside the limits of anything that was surveyed. So if you look at that green
If
line
you look
that's
at
on
this,
the back of the plan, the
yellow
actual
line.
ponding of the water is held within the delineated wetlands on that side. So it's significantly up gradient topographically from where the wetlands are. On that side, we're at 266, and the road is gonna be up at 280. So what we would like to do is, we would like to be able to begin roughing in the entrance of Spruce Street and Spruce Street and create the temporary sedimentation basins on Lot 27 and Lot 22, which are the natural low points that are gonna handle the construction runoff. Now, there's a good amount of work that's associated with just developing these temporary sediment basins. So getting the curb cut, the temporary construction entrance at the beginning of Spruce Street, and starting site work on 27 and 22.
Sorry,
to
where's
create-
27? I can't,
27 is...
is it over here?
Grimes.
Oh,
The entrance.
Yeah,
Oh, I
27 and then 22, so this is the low point, and then this will be the low point of the area of basically Spruce Street, how we can collect all the runoff from
so right now,
constructing the road.
this is open. This is the one that has to be dewatered, so,
No,
correct? Or
lot
is this one?
5.
This one?
Yep, that one right
So
there.
when you're on site, you can see this is open with water, because it's getting, I'm assuming,
Mhm.
water from both sides.
Yeah. So what we'd like to do is to be able to cut in those basins and begin to form the entrance of Spruce Street. To do that, those are the two locations that we're going to have to create. Regardless, we've corrected what's going on at 2, and this is the next step to to be able to control the construction runoff from that portion of the site. All the erosion control has been installed from, has this on lot 15?
He's gonna install it tomorrow along with
Okay,
where the.
so from lot 15 down to Grimes Land, the entirety of the erosion
He roughly
control
has 200 more feet to put this way to lot 15.
will be installed.
Not sure if I feel comfortable having more work done until we figure out what's going on.
Yeah, at least we know that 2 is functioning. Although, have you gone out and actually looked at it?
We were on site this morning, so
And
it
did
looks
it
as
look
though
okay?
it's functioned through its first storm, probably second storm.
Second
And
storm.
we know
The
that it has to
second
get
storm.
cleaned out, yeah.
The second storm.
And that was, I thought that was,
We still
That
have a
was the
lot of water
requirement for-
standing because of the hay bales. We have a lot of water that's standing here.
hmm,
I don't know if that's been cleaned, all the
the silt that built.
silt that went down there.
We also have I think a town problem here with this road collecting. This road has a big dip here, which is taking runoff, picking up silt from the scarification on this side of the road from the plow. Like I said to Amy, we're gonna rebuild this section here. We're happy to help with, however we can. We have,
So is this road cut deeper than what is there now, or is that an elevated entrance?
It's an elevated, so the beginning of Spruce
So
Street
more,
is in.
so when that road gets put in, that's gonna be more of a issue.
It's gonna be a
and
hump right
This is gonna
here?
be higher.
no, because we drive in right here. This thing is downhill from where we.
Okay, I thought you said it was higher.
The proposed condition, the
Right.
road is gonna be higher than existing grade in this general area.
Correct, but she's asking, I believe, I'm not speaking for you, but I believe what we're envisioning is the break in the wall where we come in now, asking, that's not where the roadway is going.
No, it is not.
Okay, so the roadway relative to this now, is this roadway location going to be a tributary to this issue down here?
Yeah, so the intent is to have the temporary sediment basin in the area that will take the runoff from the proposed roadway. If you look at Grimes Land in and of
And then where
itself.
does that discharge?
That, right now, we're gonna dig a hole, size it appropriately, and it's intended to discharge into 2.
Is it designed to do that now?
The temporary basin, no, I mean, we haven't developed the full
So you're
design.
asking to put more water into a basin that is still getting established with grass and that we've just kind of got under control in the last 72 hours.
And that wasn't designed to take additional water.
It definitely wasn't designed. It has standing water in it now.
Well, it was designed to take
It
Spruce
was
Street.
designed to take
But
Spruce Street.
Spruce Street won't
Under-
be a tributary for months.
Yeah.
It won't be a tributary while it's not asphalt and catch basins aren't tied into that.
When does Grimes get fixed? Is that the last
Don't you have a
portion?
commitment to do something on Grimes?
Mm-hmm.
When you start selling or start building on Spruce, or? wasn't
I
there a time?
imagine it's going to be part of the lot releases for Spruce.
Yeah.
Or at least tied into the OPs for Spruce, because what drove the widening of Grimes between Fraser and Spruce was the fire department.
Open
Yep.
area.
So I'm guessing that if we were to be fortunate enough to start Spruce in the near future, that our pavement is 60 to 90 days away. And then from there, we'll be into the summer months and probably attack Spruce if everybody's ready for it. I mean Grimes, if you will. But we don't anticipate water flowing from Spruce to to Basin 2 till our asphalt is in and we're tied into those catch basins. Any water that came through there would either infiltrate into our road base, or if it was excessive, would go into our temporary basins. We're using that methodology so
And is
that,
that temporary basin, and I apologize, I don't recall, is that temporary basin on the original plan?
No temporary locations were on the original plan. Typically, they're developed as the site
And
is.
is that on that plan that's been submitted,
For,
temporary, for Spruce?
No, we have not submitted a plan.
Okay, so you're so
identifying
if we
these
back up a
locations.
step, you're asking for us to approve something that's in concept right now.
Well, I think we're
It's-
modifying our construction sequence based on our experience for pond
Right.
3,
Correct.
that we'd like to develop
Right.
temporary basins outside of the
So-
100.
So
foot.
where
Swip-
you're looking to put a temporary basin, have you done discovery to see what those soils are?
We have done soil testing on lot 27, and we have a permitted septic design, so we understand what's going on that lot. And just for clarification, it's very, very typical that through SWIPs and construction practice, that these are determined as construction goes on, not during the permitting process for situations like we're talking about right now,
Right, but
and
we
being
have
able
to
to
have
adjust.
immediate care, so if all of a sudden that is not doing well, and you're saying that it has to then go into 2, we would need to know where that's going to be going forward, where you want to put that basin, so that it can be designed to make sure that it's in the best location possible.
Correct, so that location is on lot 27, and generally in the location of the pipe that goes to infiltration basin 2, and the second temporary basin would be on lot 22. Those are the 2 low points on the site.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think we'd want to be able to dig another area for discharge and channel it towards that if we find a large storm coming, or if that one temporary basin wasn't handled. The last resort is to ship it to 2.
Yeah, I don't,
We're gonna bring
yeah,
silt with it, and we're gonna be in the pond 3 scenario all over again. We don't wanna be there. Pond 2 is established and functioning. We don't wanna mess with it with construction runoff. So our goal is to put it in the areas outside of the buffer zone that we're gonna be ultimately dealing with at a later date, and we'll deal with accordingly. But if it's, if it's a trench all the way down this side of it to manage it, then that's what we're gonna be doing. 'Cause we really.
So on this plan, you're trying to have your basin here, but we have standing water here,
In the cellar hole of 5.
right?
Great elevation
Correct.
between the 2 lots.
So where are we gonna, so getting back to, I feel as though we need to resolve this, where's that gonna get dewatered to before we start making potentially another cellar hole with water? So personally, I'd like to see that we can figure out 3, I'm glad that we have 2 working, that we need to figure out this area before we open this up and potentially get more water
I agree.
into those areas.
Well, let me be the devil's advocate if I may, and I don't know that I've earned that position with you folks quite yet, but what if we left 5 as is until it dries up? It's out of the buffer zone. So if anything, it's impacting us and our ability to build a home there, but that's it. And it's acting as an area to pick up sheet flow from this, the topography of this is it peaks here and it flows here like this.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to flow like this as we slowly get stabilized. But in doing so, we sprayed the back of 4, we'd like it to stabilize before we all of a sudden send sheet flow in that direction. Right now, anything, if we're fortunate enough to proceed in the back of 6, which is not part of our discussion with you folks, but if we're able to proceed there and stabilize that, anything that runs is, again, in our view, gonna head into that 5. So it's not something that we're,
Well, that's a good discussion, but in previous discussions, when we've been on site, it's like, where are we gonna dewater that?
well, that was our
So-
original intent, but
Right.
what we're seeing now is, we need to be very protective of these detention ponds, and that's our goal at this point, because we're seeing the havoc it's wreaking on 3. 1, 2, and 4 are highly functioning, and 3 is not. So we're asking ourselves, in doing so, if we dewater this, and now all of a sudden we grade everything and it's heading down here before 4 is stabilized and we have greater infiltration and slowing down our velocity, are we flirting with messing with that? We don't want to do it. Because then we're back here creating a dewatering plant across the street, and
Right, so it sounds like we have to catch up with some type of construction sequence, because this is a lot to now manage, that if 4 is actually going to be called a,
That was lot 5.
I mean,
Yeah.
5, if
What's
it's
the
gonna
use
be
of cellar hole
actually,
as a detention pond, or?
no, but I mean, that's
Basically, that's what he's
what,
saying.
yeah.
well, it's common on sites like this
Yeah.
to do that, to use your cellar holes as temporary
But with
runoff.
the understanding that it's not to be dewatered, and that's its function through the process. So that would be on a new sequence of, this is its function, so it doesn't change next week, we're gonna dewater it. So to have like a different master plan,
Well, the hole on 27, you said was going to overflow onto if necessary? Is that the
that's
plan?
what they said in the beginning, but I think they've retracted that. Because two's still developing. So, you know, the grass is still growing. To walk on it, it's not stable yet. It still has to go through its growing cycle.
What we didn't find, and I don't think historically what you do find, is when you're rough grading and bringing in that processed material, the subgrade for roadways, is that you see a tremendous amount of runoff from that, because it's not the impervious behavior of asphalt. But we, as a precaution, we would like to get these basins to prevent any issues. Do I think they're gonna fill up? I don't. The roadway subbase just gets saturated.
Yeah.
Can you do calculations just to see, you know, how big this would have to be so that you wouldn't have to use two?
Certainly.
One of the benefits, I think, to getting started now versus July is that we get, or whenever, I'm not presuming July, is that any area that we have in here that we need to stabilize would stabilize pretty quickly with this time of the year. We could bring that to subgrade and loam our shoulders and shoot at it, and we'd have grass in 2 weeks, and, you know, ultimately grass is the solution.
So I think we've accommodated, or we've gone through quite a few of the topics here tonight. The commission, so just to recap, what they're asking to do is to start spruce without having it located on a plan, what that detention area would be and what the backup measures, and it would be a change to the work sequence as well. So I think we've accommodated a lot so far this evening. It's up to the commission to respond to the last request, which will be the last request for the evening, because we've almost spent an hour.
What, respond to 27? Using the use of 27
And 22.
and 22.
Which is up at the intersection, right, with,
I'm sorry, what about 22?
The
There's
same
gonna be
thing, the two, so
Use
there's
it
the
as a
two,
detention?
as a temporary sediment pond. Those are the two low points that runoff would be flowing from the phase 2.
Yeah, I think you need to see on a plan. I don't think we can agree to that.
I mean, in concept you can, but you would.
Correct, I mean, we could
Conceptually.
Allow you to move
conceptually,
forward
and we'll,
with
yeah, and we will be happy to provide
plan.
the plan, fully
I think we're
identifying these
meeting again
locations.
on May 22nd, which at that point, hopefully we'll have this sorted out for 3.
Mhm. Well, I'd like to make a motion that we allow them to move forward to create a plan for the use of Lot 22 and Lot 27 for detention of water from Spruce Street.
I will second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we've got other
Yep, I said
people.
22 and 27.
what about lot 9? And the driveway? Location.
I think we'll save that for the next hearing. So we've gone through quite a few already. Okay.
Well, is there a chance that we could just discuss that briefly, because we are still trying to stabilize the front of 9 at some point and get that septic system in as well?
Do you want to
because-
do a brief overview for the commission and see if they want to discuss it?
Yeah, so essentially in Lot 9, it was asked that we show the retaining wall, and we put the retaining wall that was next to the driveway on the plan that was submitted.
Do you have the original plan that was submitted and approved? 'Cause
I
you'll
don't
see-
have the original exhibit
on here,
plan,
though.
but it's on the key plan. Essentially, what happened was this house was a mirror image, and the driveway went here. And essentially, the way that the lot was finally designed was after the approval of the notice of intent, where we had conducted soil testing that was post that plan, and developed on-site grading for the septic system, passed that through Neshoba, and then received our septic permit. The key points, the house is smaller than what was shown on the original plan. The driveway was flipped, but the distance of house from the wetlands was maintained at 69 feet. Generally speaking, it's in the same location. It's a smaller house, it's mirrored, and the driveway is on the end as opposed to the front of the garage.
So if you look at the originally approved house and driveway, how much of that percentage-wise was in any part of the buffer zone? And the question is, going forward with your new design, what does that number look like?
We can get you those numbers. I don't have a square footage specifically.
Because when we looked at, earlier, we looked at the plans, looked like this is totally outside of the buffer zone, the original driveway, whereas when you flipped it, a lot of the driveway was within the buffer zone.
Right, and if you look at the footprint of the house itself, the house basically extended from where the footprint is today to generally where the driveway is. So in terms of impervious area, the driveway would have fallen in the location of the home.
So it sounds like you need like an overlay to see before. I know historically what we would do with any type of change like that is it would be an amendment if it's any type of significant. And what I think would have been better tonight would have been to show the commission what was approved and what you're asking for, which is usually what we ask applicants to do. And then going forward, we would tell you if it's an amendment or a field change.
Certainly, so we can provide that plan.
I mean, initially, when we looked at it, it looks like we would require an amendment for this change, not a field change. Because it is a change in impervious surface, a change in what's in the buffer zone.
Can I ask
For
if
an-
Amy can make that determination, just so he knows whether he's good?
If it's a net decrease or maintaining the same amount of impervious area
Do a
within the buffer.
calculation, yeah.
Yeah, but would that be something that Amy would be able to determine?
If she wants to do that,
essentially?
or she can put it back to the
If you-
commission.
I'm happy to take, I mean, certainly if it's a decrease in impervious, then I would say maybe it's an okay field change. But just, you know, when you're talking amended order conditions, that's a whole new notification process.
Right.
That's the formal piece of it, so.
So it sounds like there's more work to do with that discussion.
So if you guys are comfortable with me looking at the numbers that they come up with, and
But with the understanding, if there's any question or hesitation, that will
And come back to the commission.
for the next hearing.
Understood.
We look forward to your dewatering. We will continue the hearing for May 22nd.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go back and hear the 750, which is Chestnut Lane, Lot 12 and 13. So we're glad you're here, and we did open your hearing, but we'll carry on the discussion because we moved ahead to the next hearing, so we would like to have an update.
Sure. For the record, Jeff Hannaford, representing the applicant, Paul Gass. I just wanted to apologize for being late. My truck broke down. I had to wait for a ride, and I ended up coming in behind the previous
Okay.
applicant for a second time. Some of the updates are, all new erosion control was installed. That was done within 48 hours. And on, I think it was either Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, when I had talked to, actually I had met with Amy and Chase out at the site after the last meeting and reviewed the erosion control. And there was a concern about the well on Lot 12. It's a true artesian. It's running all the time. So what they had done was it was just coming out of the top of the casing at the cap for
Just like
quite a
all the
while.
houses there.
Yeah,
Got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Somebody should have done geo. It would have been a good geothermal area.
so some time ago, somebody, they said we need to direct this. It-
Yep.
We can't have it coming out of the cap. So they had drilled a hole in the side of the casing, connected a pipe, and created an overflow situation into a detention area.
Existing detention area?
Pardon me?
An existing detention area? or-
No, like a
No,
little
they
informal.
created
Yeah,
one.
just a little
Oh,
creative
creative
one.
one.
Yeah, with erosion control and, went through some riprap and into this detention area. It wouldn't have been so bad except for the content of iron. It's so high that the iron was.
Orange.
Yeah, the
Match-
iron.
It's like a combination of those two shirts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
I've
it.
seen it.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
My
nice.
wife said pastel art, and I
Yeah.
looked at the deposit and I
Yeah.
thought, I wonder if there's a way to take it and
Yep.
turn it into
Yeah.
some pastel chalk. But it,
I'm sure there is.
it's just coming out at such a rate that, in talking with Chase and Amy at that last site visit, I talked to my client and his builder the following day and said, contact the well company, see what else you can do. Even if we increase this detention area, it's going to be constant maintenance and a burden for the homeowner. So some of the thoughts were, do we drill the well deeper, a new well? Lot 13's well was drilled recently. It doesn't have that same issue. It's not an artesian. I don't know the quality test yet, but it is not in an artesian situation. But at any rate, they contacted Skilling's, the well company, and they said they have, I guess it's called a plug. It's a balloon type of, where they set it down and somehow blow it up. It must be charged with a gas that happens instantaneously to set it. So it's not cheap, it's $1,500, but they said it should stop the vast majority, they say about 90%. So that was done, it was supposed to be Thursday, but I think it didn't happen until Friday morning. I did go to the site Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock in the middle of the rain, and at that point, the overflow had stopped from the well. I was back there again today. There is a little bit coming out of the well, I guess that 10%. In talking to the builder, what Skilling's had said is, the problem right now is that there's no water use in the house. And so, once there are
That'll
Oh.
people
take the
using it,
overflow.
right, then they drop
System.
the water level in the well, and that will stop. So I think we're just gonna kind of monitor things right now. We think it's probably the fix, and if it is, what I think we'll do is we'll still create a small detention area. If the people happen to be away for a week or two, and there happens to be some overflow, there's a place for it to go. But it looks like right now it's so minute that just normal daily use will cause it to not overflow at all.
At
So
some
I was
point,
out there Saturday and it was still deteriorating, although it was clean.
Yes.
at some point, if you can just, and this will be part of the as-built, eventually is where that's going to be,
Mhm.
how big,
Yep.
so that Amy knows where it's gonna be, but then when you do the as-built plans, it needs to be on that plan.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, yep, I was very interested to see how it was gonna function, and so now we're getting some real data, and it looks a heck of a lot better than it did. so.
Okay. Let's talk, we noticed that, so the erosion control as requested is at the bottom of the wall that had toppled over and on the other side. Amy had mentioned on site that the new erosion control is a little bit closer to the wetlands, just a minor change in that it's a little bit closer, so they need to know that they can't work in that area. But what is the time frame of moving all the big blocks, which are now on the opposite side of the road? So they're supposed to be on the right side going in, but now, after they've toppled, they're on the left.
Right, they're just temporarily stockpiled.
Right.
And that erosion control at the Toa slope, we did do the silt fence and
Yep.
hay bales. That's working fine.
Mm-hmm.
The walls are under design right now by a structural engineer who's just been brought on board.
Okay.
So we're waiting for that to happen. In the meantime, we've had the common drive staked out in preparation for getting that, verifying the grades for that in conjunction with the wall grading. Because they have to
you'll-
work together.
Right, so you'll need to move the blocks that are on the left side. Okay.
So
Right, so once,
So you're gonna be using the same blocks that are on the current wall?
Well,
For
but
the
it's under
new-
redesign, so you
No,
don't.
that's what I'm
you don't-
wondering.
You
I'm
don't know
wondering.
that.
So those blocks, so that whole wall may be
Right.
coming out?
That's part of the design, which we don't know if they're gonna use the blocks that are on the left side, because it is a total new design.
oh, right, yeah.
So
We're anticipating they're gonna use the blocks,
maybe some layers, maybe not as many courses high.
right, I think it's going to be, well, it's gonna be a new design. There was kind of I guess, two issues going on at the same time. Because of the height difference from the driveway to the house itself, there was one wall adjacent to the common drive, and there were a couple of short walls to terrace their way up.
Oh, okay.
So, right now, the thinking is to eliminate one of the terrace walls to create a bigger space between the walls themselves, which minimizes,
Is that a new notice of intent then?
It's
I
up to
mean-
you. If it's,
We're
talking-
if it's enough of a change to require an amended notice of intent.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So it's within the buffer,
Oh,
the second one.
well, yeah, we're
Yeah, it's
we're
all-
holding the wall adjacent to the common drive. So it's a question of how are they going to landscape between that wall and the front entrance? So the question was, should there be two short walls? Should there be one maybe taller wall? It's gonna depend on how they're working with a landscaper now, on how they wanna finish that front section. The wall, the main wall adjacent to the common drive is still the wall we had anticipated being the main wall. The rest is, to me, is landscaping. So as far as distance to wetlands, we're still looking at that wall. And from my understanding is what should have happened and why they're considering one or two walls to landscape between there and the house is there should be a geogrid mesh at certain levels, so many blocks. This geomesh is placed horizontally back into the hill, more blocks and fill, so that geogrid on a horizontal holds the wall in, ties it into the slope.
Looks like a dead man's, so,
Yeah, so that's what they need, is to
which I think, you
create
know,
that.
and I don't
and-
know if you were privy to the original discussions that we had when this was, before it went to an order of conditions, is we were very concerned with the wall and how it was gonna weep and the stability, and then it fell. So our concerns still remain because how steep that wall is.
Right, that's why it's,
So-
it's being designed out. So
Right.
once we have that, then I can come in and say, this is exactly, right now, I'm just kind of surmising, because they're early into that.
I'm in favor of terracing just to slow the water down from that hill, coming up that
Steep
hill.
hill.
Yeah, what we've seen is,
But are you looking to grade and finish the road before that wall is designed and re-permitted?
no, what we're looking to do is to make sure the base of that wall, which
Okay.
is the key factor to it.
Sure.
If you don't have a good base,
Right.
who cares what else you do? So that base has to be set at the right elevation,
Right,
so
okay.
that when the roadway work, which will happen right after
Right,
it, will tie in correctly. So
okay.
that's what we're aiming to do is
Okay.
to make sure that they dovetail together the way they're supposed to.
So it sounds
Should we
like
see the
we,
plan first before we say whether or not it's gonna be implemented?
exactly. So when do you think you'll have a plan? But that has to be approved. The wall has to be permitted. So you
Right,
can
that's
look at, you
gotta
can
go
look at a
to-
plan,
Building, but yeah.
A proposal.
right,
Yeah, that has to go to the building department as well.
okay.
So I was hoping for a call back from that structural engineer today. I didn't get it, so I
Okay.
can't confirm the timeframe.
Okay.
Um,
So we meet again on May 22nd.
Yep.
We would ask you to come back in, but with the understanding that the erosion control has to be continually maintained,
mhm.
and that we would need to know if they are gonna use those blocks, because if they're not, they need to be removed or stored outside of the buffer zone, because they're
Yeah.
like in the buffer zone right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of money sitting there, so they're
Yeah.
hoping to reuse them.
Okay,
Yep. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was the new structural engineer. The builder just recently sent him the details on those blocks.
blocks, okay.
Yep, so he's looking into that now to see if he can reuse them.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll continue to the 22nd, and if you have anything that comes up prior to that, just to let Amy know.
Mhm.
And have you looked at all into the wetland creation area?
Yes.
That just
Thank
keeps
you for
getting
reminding us.
tailed on to the end of everything and nothing ever happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to, I don't know what's left down there. I'm gonna have to walk in and see if there are any wetland flags left. Because based
There
on
are
what
some.
you sent me, it's supposed to be adjacent to certain
Yeah,
wetland flags.
Okay.
And I don't know if we can identify that area that way. If we cannot, then I'm gonna have to try to get the surveyor
Okay.
to go out and survey locate where the wetland line was at that time.
So if you could have some definitive feedback for us for the 22nd
Yep.
on that, that would be good. Okay.
Yep, and the owner has agreed to hire me to monitor the site. I know that was a question at your last meeting.
Okay, yeah,
So I've been making it a point to go out every week.
okay,
If not for anything else, just to go see this. So
Okay,
I was there
great.
Friday and again today because of the rainstorm.
okay.
So it's a week,
Yep.
but I can adjust it.
Yep, and then
depending on the
after any
weather.
significant
Yep,
rainstorms.
and I have photos.
Yep.
Amy, I did email these.
Yep, we have them. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we appreciate it. Okay, thank you
Alrighty.
and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. So going back, just circling back around, project update, 1 Sawyer Lane, 204-739. So, to be noted that they are not here. We will move them on to the May 22nd, with confirmation that they're going to appear. Continued public hearing notice of intent, which was 305 Foster Street, so they are under continual design still. So they informed Amy that they're still working on it. We will move them to the 22nd as well.
Just so you know, the Sawyer Lane, there were a bunch of us who did go out on site
Yeah,
and look at it.
But so we'll wait until, because they're not here,
Okay.
to open that hearing. So unless there's a,
it was pretty much
Concern?
a question of, he's not done yet, and there's been some little changes here or there, and I figured there were enough little changes here and there that it was worth getting input.
does it require a new notice of intent?
It would definitely not require no notice of intent.
Okay,
The turnaround for the driveway has been relocated, actually further away from the wetland,
okay.
and that's like the biggest change, and then there's some downspouts and
Okay.
stuff like that.
So it sounds like that can be addressed at a later date.
Well,
So
there's
I-
also the proposal for planting of trees, right?
Yeah, I'll tell him if he wants to do the trees, he's gotta come in.
Okay,
But
So
I
let's
think the
carry
rest of
it
it, he'd
over.
take care of the downspouts.
let's put them on as the last
Yeah,
for the
Yeah.
22nd or the 1st, and then if he decides not to do that, it won't impact the agenda as much.
yeah.
So that's the close. Do I have a motion to close the meeting
I'll motion to close the meeting.
at 9:20?
9:20.
Second.
So closed and hearing is over for May 8th.
All right.
Okay, we're adjourned.